So I figured that many people are entering right now the world of Pathfinder RPG through Kingmaker or Wrath of the Righteous. So why not make a little guide for basic concepts for newcomers? So if you're just arrived, welcome. This is Pathfinder RPG. This is amazing. Pathfinder originated by the time that 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons was going on as kind of a crisis, but it's a long story. Now we have a great system here. We have the reference document here, PF, SRD, if you have more doubts about it, but this is very advanced. You should just follow the leads here. We have here the official Paizo website too. That is, I also like pretty much like all their documents, materials, and we have the original Owlcat games website here. So if you're new to Pathfinder RPG, it's a pen and paper role-playing game system that works very well, especially for combat, and it's very versatile as of right now. That this beautiful company, Owlcat Games, decided to make as a video game, a CRPG genre video game, and it's been a great journey since 2018 from Kingmaker to Wrath of the Righteous. Now they have excellent games and their patches really fix it all. So if you're new here, welcome. These games are really great. So start here with the character creation. After you choose that you want to create a custom character and you choose a portrait, you are going to start with the class. The class is basically your profession, what you do for life. This will of course influence your whole gameplay, because you can be a wizard that casts spells, or you can be a fighter that basically uses weapons very well. And you have the game creates a very good situation of explaining the abilities for everybody here, and the difficulty to play the archetypes and characters as well. The more you are versed on the PnP game, the easier it will be for this. So, and here we have something called purchase classes, that are classes that you can only take after you cover some prerequisites, as you can see here. These are a little advanced as well. You should read them if you really want to go to them. After that, we have the race. The race will influence a lot of the things of your character. You can see what the races give right here by your right. And you can choose by flavor or by mechanics or a mixture of both. And some of these races have ascensions as well. For example, the Asmar, you're going to have a heritage. You're going to choose what type of Asmar you are. And you can see here that they are different. Each one of them, they are different mechanically. So you should explore this a little bit more to see exactly what you want, flavor-wise or mechanic-wise. We have here the racial heritage. For example, I chose an elf here. I'm going to be a basic elf that has everything that I can see here. But you can choose a different kind of elf, a Lightborn, that will have these kinds of modifications on top of these here. And then you have something called background selection. That is a very good way of adapting the background from the PnP RPG. And each of those, they give you a little bit of bonuses that are mostly flavor, but the little bonuses are interesting too. And after that, we have the ability scores that are very important for your character. They are going to guide how well your character is going to be. You should follow these little thumbs up here, that it's the game telling you what attributes are good for your specific race and class. And you have a little explanation here of everything that works, everything that this will give or remove from you. It should be very easy to get the idea from the interface of the game, which is pretty good right now. So by example here, I'm going to make the classic dumb warrior here with that is very agile, strong, and very tough. It's going to be an elf fighter. And then you have the skills. The skills are very different from other games that you're going to find there. Different skills affect different actions. They created a very good system of you interacting with the world through skills. So when you are passing through a hidden door, you can only see this hidden door if you or one of your companions has a good perception. You shouldn't focus on trying to get all the skills possibly, you should just focus on the ones that are from your class, that you can see with this little V here. Skills are influenced by your intelligence score here and your class as well. Different classes have more skills. For example, the bard and rogue and scout, they are going to have more skills, and some classes have less skill points. For example, the fighter has very few skill points, and the classes that are versatile and have a high intelligence attribute value, they are going to have a lot of skills. They are going to be very versatile, but not necessarily in combat. So you should have a variety of skill sets in your group. Some are going to fight, some are going to cast spells, and some are going to be have lore and perception, so that your party composition is well created. And then we have here the feats. Feats are what create your character build, what kind of function he's going to do. And of course we have some types of builds. For example, every bowman is going to get point blank shot. Every fighter or character that really focuses on hitting should get some type of weapon focus or something like that. But you should go and take your time and read the feats and see if your character can benefit from that, or if you're facing situations that a feat could help you in that situation. But you should follow some guidelines on what could work. For example, you shouldn't get weapon focus if you're a wizard, or you shouldn't get arcane focus if you are a fighter, right? Some things don't mix up. They are going to create a little distraction from the point of what your character does. A fighter wouldn't want to learn how to use arcane skills unless it's a magus that is a fighter mage, to which you are going to try to specify exactly what you want. In the case of a magus, for example, that is a fighter mage or fighter wizard, whatever, you're going to decide. Do you want to have a lot of defenses? Do you want to hit a lot with physical damage? Do you want your spells to be stronger as you hit the enemies with the spells in your sword? Or if you're going to be a fighter, are you going to be a bowman? Are you going to be a swordsman, sword and board? What is it? Are you going to be a bard, a skald? You want to sing better? You are going to have a better performance, and so on and so forth. So the feats, they will point you towards this goal, and they will create this specific efficiency that your character is best at. So next we have deities here. Deities are mostly role-playing flavor things, but they have a little bit of influence in the game, mostly in Mythic Paths. But you should just take a read. Take a read on what they do, what they are, and immerse yourself a little more in the game. After you choose your deity, your alignment of choice will be influenced by your deity. If you don't want this, just be atheist, or just really read the options that you have of alignment for your character. For example, I'm going to put here Asmodeus. I'm going to be an evil fighter, for example, lawful evil. And we have here alignment. Alignment greatly influences the game and the outcomes of the game. Not only your personal choices throughout the game, but also your mythic paths are going to be influenced by your alignment. You can see that we have two axes in here. We have the good and evil that goes north-south, and we have lawful and chaotic that goes east-west. So it's basically this, order and chaos, and how good you are, how bad you are. And all of the philosophical morality implications that you have in this spectrum. It's really interesting. I'm going to put here neutral evil, very evil, chaos or not, just for sake of continuing the guide. And after that you choose your appearance, your voice, your name, and then you have your result here. You put your birth date, there's a little bit of flavor too, and then you have your character complete here. So the explanations that I'm going to give regarding combat, they will involve turns, because the CRPG is a video game based in a turn-based RPG, and so even though they created this fluid system that does involve turn-based, if you want to activate or deactivate, the game is still based on a turn-based combat. So if you click on character here in Marshall, you can see many stats here regarding combat. I'm going to start with initiative. At the beginning of a combat, every agent of the combat throws a d20 and sums with their initiative value. In the case of my fighter here, that is kind of strong. I don't have a portrait here, what the hell. He has a 27 initiative roll, so it's pretty high. It means that I'm going to be very frequently be acting firstly in the combat order. After that, there are some actions that you can take. For example, one of the actions is to attack. And one of the things that we have here is the attack bonus. For me to hit an enemy, I have to take my attack bonus sum with a d20 roll, and this value has to be equal or higher to the enemy's armor class. Pretty simple. And you have different types of armor class. This here is when I'm surprised, flat-footed, so my armor class doesn't involve dexterity when I'm surprised. And we have the touch armor class here that involves just hitting your silhouette. This is for cases of rays from mages, for example, that you just have to hit the character. It doesn't matter if you're going to surpass his armor or not. Because armor class is like a fluid thing of armor, toughness of your skin, shield, agility, etc. Of avoiding a hit, basically. But touch armor class is not. It's just how well you can deflect or avoid, I don't know, a ray or an arrow or something like that. After that, we are going to roll the damage if you hit the enemy. If not, no. So normally you are going to inflict one attack per turn, but because I'm a fighter, I have 4 attacks, a 5th attack because of what I am. I'm a bowman, I have feats for that. That's why I have 5 attacks, sometimes 6 if I am under a haste spell. That is a buff. So there is another thing that you can do. You can cast a spell that is going to be a buff. In the case here, for example, Nenio. Third circle, she has haste. I have many hastes here. And there are all types of buffs that you're going to have to read one by one, because it's a very complex game. I'm going to try to facilitate the things here. So let's continue here in the combat round. If you are casting a spell, normally you just choose the spell and cast. But the enemy will defend in a different way, not armor class, but resistances. You can see here that my main character, for example, he has 39 fortitude, 51 reflex, and 41 will. This indicates fortitude is everything that absorption related and resistant related, physically speaking. Reflex is exactly what it is. It's your dodginess and how much you can evade attacks. And your will is your willpower, resisting mind-affecting things. So when a spell tries to take effect, you are going to defend yourself, or the enemy is going to defend himself on the saves. So in the case of Nenio, for example, Nenio is a very strong character, spell related, and I have this spell here, for example, called Phantasmal Killer. Phantasmal Killer is a spell that creates this terror vision. That's the worst nightmare of the afflicted creature. It's going to create an illusion of your worst nightmare, and you have 2 saves for this spell. You have firstly to disbelieve the illusion of the worst nightmare, and if you fail this, you believe the illusion will try to hit you, touch you, whatever. And then the second part is a fortitude. You're going to resist the touch of the illusion. So this spell tries to kill you, basically. The good outcome when you are casting this in an enemy is that you are trying to kill the enemy with the Phantasmal Killer. The enemy will try to disbelieve the illusion with will. So in the case of Nenio casting Phantasmal Killer onto herself, it's a very strong spell and very strong illusionist, so she has 37 difficult class for this spell. So if I were to defend myself against this spell that has 37 difficult class, I would firstly have to throw a d20, sum with my 26 will, and I would need to get 37 or more. So hard. In my d20 roll, I'd have to take 11 or more in this d20. If I fail, I believe the illusion will touch me, and then I have to resist this thing, and then I'm going to throw my fortitude save here. That is even worse. So it's still 37 DC, so I'm going to have to throw this d20, and I need 14 or more in this d20 to resist my own Phantasmal Killer. If I fail both, I die, regardless of how many hit points I have. So for spells and for attacks, there's one more layer of defense. For spells, there's something called spell resistance that you can see. For example, Diron here has a 5th circle, 5th level spell called spell resistance that I can apply spell resistance into a character, but many demons or extraplanar creature or just powerful enemies, they will have spell resistance. Spell resistance is an unnatural kind of resistance to spells that prompts you to overcome it by doing a caster level check. What is this? When you try to afflict someone with spell resistance, you have to throw a d20, sum with the spell penetration value that you have here. You have to select your character, click in spell book, and you see these little values here. I have 22 spell penetration. So in the case of a powerful demon, for example, a powerful demon has 35, for example, spell resistance. So if I try to afflict him with a spell, before he saves with Fortitude, Reflex, or Will, I have to overcome his spell resistance. So I throw a d20, sum with 22, and in the case of the powerful demon that has 35 spell resistance, I would need to take 13 or more in this d20 roll. For example, in the case of Nenio, that is a little stronger character, spell related, spell wise, she has 28 spell penetration, so it's a little easier. It's a little risky to lose the spell still, because it's going to be 7 or more. You still have 30% chance of failure, but still it's much stronger. So this is the additional layer of defense for spells. And there's something called Concealment for attacks. Concealment is when you have like a barrier, or when you're just peeking, like you have total concealment, or when you just can't see the opponent well, when you are blind, or when the opponent is invisible. Or, for example, in the case of the Nenio here, she has a spell called Displacement. Displacement, the subject of this spell appears to be about 2 feet away from its true location. So the enemy has difficulty to pinpoint the correct location of the creature that has displacement going on, effect going on themselves. So the enemy has 50% mischance as if it had total concealment, as you can read here. Okay, total concealment, like I said. So an attacker, before he tries to hit the armor class of an opponent that has concealment, he has to throw a D100, okay, just a percentage chance of pinpointing the location or not of given enemy. If he fails, he doesn't even throw the D20 for armor class hitting. He's just misses the sword, slash, or I don't know, the arrow or whatever. So these are the basics of combat that we have so far. So following the simplicity of this guide, I'm going to continue with the last portion of this guide, that is skills. As I told you before, skills make you interact with the world in a way that is not combat-like. For example, my very versatile character here, Arushalei, she's a demoness, she is an ascending succubus, and her class is a ranger espionage expert. So she's very versatile and she has very good skills. You can see she has a lot of persuasion, knowledge arcana, trickery, perception, stealth, mobility. If you hover your mouse on top of these skills, you see this little text that will tell you what this is for. So for example, if I'm passing in front of a secret door and I need to spot the secret door, the game will secretly throw the perception roll d20 together with my perception value, that is 64 here, against a difficult class that is similar to the difficult class of saves on the spells. For example, very hard, very end game, in the normal difficulty, you have difficulties of spotting things that is going to be 50, 55, 60. So having a character with high perception is very important. Or for example, in here, trickery for opening unlocking doors or disarming traps. some in the end of the game, these DCs are going to be very high, so you need a lot of trickery. For example, for a difficult trap in the last stage of the game is going to be 60, the difficult class. So I'm going to have roll a d20, some with 54, which makes me just take 6 or more in this d20 to be able to successfully disarm a trap, unlock a door, etc. So you can hover your mouse here, you can see every little function. For example, the knowledge arcana, I have 41 with her, but Nenio has 40 knowledge world, and 30 nature, 30 religion, and so on and so forth. My main character here, that has no portrait for some reason, he has 49 athletics, for example, because it's his class skill and he's a lot of strength. So every time that I need to be strong, I go over and I use this character for the athletics skill. So that's it for this guide. It's very simple, very short for people that are arriving today at these two beautiful games that are Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous. Hope that you enjoyed this guide and you can really have a good time playing it. Good game. So if you enjoyed that video, please like, subscribe and comment. All that jazz, because I may not care about it, you may not care about it, but the YouTube algorithm cares. So please do. Thank you.